talk about the audience for a little bit. Wichita Life, I think it goes out to 31,000 people right now, the newsletter. Instagram's nearly 60K. I think you've said that the total social following is right around 120K right now. Population numbers, the city is 400K, about metro area 650K. So newsletter alone, 31,000 people. That's no small chunk, right? That's decent saturation for only doing it for about half a decade. Do you think that there's a cap on your audience size for the newsletter where like you could get to 100,000, 300,000, but not further? Is there a cap? And do you think about that?
I haven't really. I've thought about it a little bit. Just and like I've given a couple like local talks at like 1 million cups and like some entrepreneur stuff. And like I always kind of pitch it as like, okay, we are like back then. Let's call it. We're 31,000. Again, you said 400,000, but like we target, like we write. It's called the Wichita Life Update, but like we cover everything, all the suburbs. So it's about 650,000. I'm like, we're not even 10% of the way there. So I'm not really worried about the cap right now as like a limiting factor. If anything, it's just like we have a long way to go. Like I'm probably not going to reach that limiting factor for a while. But I mean, I don't see why 100,000 people wouldn't read it. You know what I mean? And so like the Wichita Eagle is like the legacy paper here that's been here for 100 years or whatever. I'm pretty sure we already have like more email subscribers than they do. So I always put that on things when I'm promoting it. But like they send out, I don't know, 50, 60, 70,000 papers a day, whatever the number, probably more than 100,000. I don't know what it is, but it's more than we are. And so it's like, let's call it 100, maybe it's 150,000, but I don't know. I always just try to picture things as we have 31,000, about 16 or 17,000 people read every email.
Yeah.
Our event center here in town, the record attendance there, which was a Zach Bryan concert a couple years ago, was like 16,500. I'm like, that many people read each of my emails.
That's huge.
And that's how I always try to reframe it. I'm like, we got a long ways to go, but like that is a ton of people. And that's one way to look at it. And then it's like, you really realize how many people are reading it when you make a grammatical error, and it's very obvious because they let you know. If it's like a dozen people, I'm like, oh, there it is. I definitely had something that was a dumb typo or something.
Well, who are the people reading it? Do you know, like vague, or I mean, you don't have to tell me everything specific, but just kind of broad demographic data.
Sure.
Like, is it more male, more female, age range, etc.? Who reads it?
Yeah, so both the Instagram and email are about 2/3 female, which I've always thought was interesting. And maybe, I don't know if that's like normal.
As an aside, Ryan Snedden, who I know you know, a former Curious Spotlight guest, one of kind of the pioneers of the local newsletter thing, he said a similar thing. His was like 2/3 female, I think, as well.
Right. So 2/3 female. But the drastic difference is like, I don't know which way I'm looking on the screen, but on Instagram, it's like 25 to 34 is like the majority bucket, which you'd kind of expect Instagram, social media. But for the newsletter, it's like 55 to 64 and 65 plus is like 45%.
Wow.
And then it's kind of even across the other buckets. And I think a big piece of that is because a lot of our newsletter subscribers were acquired via Facebook, which I think also trends older, right?
Yeah.
Or my other working theory for that is that I just do I don't do an onboarding survey, which I've heard some people in the community, like local newsletter community kind of do. But like once or twice a year, I'll just send a survey and get whatever, low thousands, whatever that is, some statistically significant percentage of subscribers. And my other theory is, are older people just more likely to actually respond to the survey?
Just like time and get you to do something.
Exactly. I think it's like, it does trend out. I think it is more older people, but I think it might be like amplified a little bit based on like older lady might be more willing to do a survey than a 25-year-old guy or something. So
I think you're probably right. I mean, I've had a similar thing with age in the newsletter as well, where like when we started running meta ads, we saw that we were getting a much higher proportion of older people. So we had to like occasionally set limits on some of the ads where it's like we wanted a more balanced audience. So we actually had to set that up. Let's talk about the growth of the newsletter for a little bit, though. You mentioned meta ads. I think you started doing that a little more recently. I guess like take me from like I imagine that the first 0 to 1,000 was that hand-to-hand combat we were talking about. Now you're at 31,000. Tell me like the story of the growth, maybe in a few milestones. So like from the 1,000 to 10,000, maybe 10 to 20, 20 to now.
Sure. I don't have the numbers exactly in front of me. I started running Facebook ads. So I started in June of 2020.
Oh, I didn't realize you started that long ago.
Yeah. So I I never said it to Ryan, but I actually started before Ryan did. So we're both kind of OGs in the newsletter space. But it is funny thing about that though, because being in the newsletter,
he's just louder about it.
He was a lot louder about it, but I met him because he was loud about it, so it worked out. So he helped me out a ton early on. Like it was just like how to think about it, frameworks. Like I even some of my like templatization of things was kind of copied off of him. But he's the one that showed me how to use Facebook ads initially. And so I ran, but it was like $10 or $20 a day for a little bit. And then like I would kind of grow and then like not run out of money, but like I didn't want to run out of money. So I'd kind of tone it back a little bit or turn it off for a little bit. Or something I've done before too is like I ran the same Facebook ad for 2 or 3 years. Like again,
like
not
one
a ton of
single
money,
unit?
like the single ad. Like there's been a couple of them that I've just ran like in forever. And then eventually got to a point I'm like, okay, it's like $1.50 a sub, which isn't even bad, like in the big picture of things, but like was just more expensive than the 90 cents that I wanted to be spending per subscriber. So I just let that run. But I would say it tails off sometimes because I'm kind of hard on myself. So I'll say like I'm being lazy and I'm not like swapping out the creatives, but it's more like
you don't strike me as a lazy guy.
I don't have time. So it's just like recently, like I kind of tapered off the Facebook ads a little bit because I had been running an ad for months and I'm like, I need to swap this out, but I just haven't had time to do it. But I also don't want to like burn money, but I also don't want subscribers to stop coming in. So it's like, I just need to like set aside an hour once a week to like swap in some new creatives. But I would say it was probably like, I don't know, if you break it out, it's probably like 500 subscribers a month or something. I don't know, roughly if you like linearly, something like that, which some months it's like 2,000 because I really cranked it up that month or something like that. But like I started this year, it's kind of hard because I used to have it on Kit. And so it's a nice graph, but I switched it over. And then I had to scrape off my Kit subscribers because they were wanting to charge me again. So I had to get below their threshold so I didn't have to pay for it anymore.
That's crazy.
Okay, so I started January 1st at 23,000, and we're about to cross 32. So that's almost 10,000 subscribers in 6 or 7 months. So
30-year growth in half a year. A third of your of your entire current audience, rather.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And I would say this year I definitely like cranked it up a little bit compared to past years. But a lot of that was just based on like we had a good year revenue last year. And I just want to like keep that growth up. So a lot of the stuff, I think I picked this up from Austin Reef from Morning Brew. I heard him say, maybe it was on MFM or like one of the other podcasts he was on. But he had a framework and I think a lot of people have kind of latched onto it and maybe he didn't come up with it, but write, grow, sell.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, you can kind of sum up everything into that. So it's like write, or like if you want to like bundle that down, it's like creating content.
I've modeled my entire definition of what is a creator on this. Matt McGarry was the one who told me about it. But he credited.
Yes, I was going to say Matt McGarry. I think his like course is called that or a newsletter or something. But the writing, it's like I always like I'm not going to miss sending it out. I send it Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which is kind of a weird cadence. I don't think anyone else does it like that. But it's going out at 6 a.m. those days, no matter what, unless it's a holiday or like I let them know ahead of time. So like that piece is like checked. Like if I had to stay up till 2 a.m., it's going to get done.
Foundation.
Exactly. So this is right. And then grow. It's like, okay, I need to continue to grow the newsletter. I can't be stagnant. Like people do unsubscribe every newsletter. Like a dozen people might unsubscribe each newsletter or every other newsletter. And that's the name of the game. And like I used to go and like look at every single one of them. Like, who is this person? Like, why did you?
That's like scratching an itch after you get a bug bite. You don't need to be doing that.
Exactly. And a lot of times it's like, oh, I left my job, so I was just switching. I'm actually subscribed on another email, or like they always had a reason. Like if I ever like met them in person and I knew them personally or something. But then so there's that piece of it, and it's like that's pretty easy to slack on though. Like you have to like put some effort in, whether that's organic content, hand-to-hand combat, or paying meta ads. And then selling is like the other piece of it. Like you got to monetize it or the whole engine is going to shut down.